Hello and welcome to the special broadcast of India Today Global from Dubai. Now, India and the US are moving toward a phased trade deal with the next announcement expected early next week and a formal agreement likely by end of March. The deal aims to cut US tariffs on Indian goods from 50 to 18%, while talks will continue for a broader trade pact that could bring further duty concessions. More in this report.
3 days after US President Donald Trump shocked everyone by announcing a trade deal with India, but not before posting an iconic India Today cover on Truth Social, there's finally some clarity on the timeline of the deal. The next big announcement is expected early next week.
बहुत ही सार्थक चर्चा चल रही है भारत और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के बीच। हमारी उम्मीद है कि अगले 4-5 दिन में हम एक जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका और भारत के बीच में फाइनलाइज करके साइन कर देंगे।
The big outcome of the deal, reduction of US tariffs to 18% from the current 50%, will however take some time, probably by the end of March, after a formal trade deal is signed between the two nations. Importantly, India and the US will continue negotiations for a larger trade deal under which India may get further duty concessions.
एक फॉर्मल एग्रीमेंट ड्राफ्ट हो रहा है जिसको शायद महीना भर 1.5 महीना लग सकता है, लेकिन 18% जो यूएस टैरिफ्स घटने हैं वो जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट अनाउंस होने के बाद एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर द्वारा यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका कर देगा। सरकार ने कई बार
The Commerce Minister also clarified on the $500 billion investment figure, which has caused much political agony.
The target of $500 billion bilateral trade, which was set in the February 2025 announcement joint statement between USA and India, and if we have to achieve that, we will certainly need to do a lot more exports and a lot more sourcing.
Meanwhile, India has for the first time gone on record about its stance on oil imports, steering clear of US claims that the Modi government had agreed to reduce Russian oil inflows.
Ensuring the energy security of 1.4 billion Indians is the supreme priority of the government. All of India's decisions are taken and will be taken with this in mind. Indian PSUs, they have established partnership with the National Oil Company of Venezuela, PDVSA, and our PSUs have maintained presence in the country since 2008. India remains open to exploring the commercial merits of any crude supply options, including from Venezuela.
The government had earlier made it clear that interest in sensitive domestic sectors, including agriculture and dairy, will not be compromised with, and that they have been safeguarded during negotiations. He added that the phased approach allows India to secure immediate gains for exporters while continuing discussions on deeper market access in the future. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
The New START Treaty, the last nuclear arms control agreement between the US and Russia, expires on the 5th of February 2026, removing limits on their strategic nuclear arsenals. Signed in 2010 and in force since 2011, the treaty capped deployed warheads at 1,550 each. The UN has warned the expiry threatens global security, while China has urged the US and Russia to resume dialogue but declined to join negotiations itself. Mahashweta Lala with this report.
Amid global tensions and changing world order, the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty officially expires on February 5, 2026. The New START Treaty, the last remaining nuclear arms control agreement between the United States and Russia, no longer binds the two biggest nuclear power nations by any limits on the size of their strategic nuclear arsenals. The lapse of the treaty brings back memory of the Cuban Missile Crisis during the Cold War. a 13-day standoff in October 1962 between US and erstwhile USSR, which brought the world almost to the brink of a nuclear war. The treaty was signed on April 8, 2010, by then US President Barack Obama and then Russian President Dmitry Medvedev in Prague, but came into force on February 5, 2011. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned that the expiration marked a grave moment for international peace and security. China expressed concerns over global nuclear order following the expiration.
俄方曾建议俄美
Russia had previously suggested that Russia and the United States continue to abide by the core restrictions of the treaty. China calls on the United States to respond positively, handle the follow-up arrangements of the treaty responsibly, and resume strategic stability dialogue with Russia as soon as possible.
普遍期待。
Reports suggest US is pushing for China's inclusion in the arms race control in future agreements.
Вчера действительно эта тема упоминалась с точки зрения.
You know that according to the stance of our Chinese friends, their nuclear potential is incomparable with the potentials of the United States and Russia. Therefore, they do not wish to take part in negotiations because they think it is inexpedient. We respect the stance. All the rest depends on how the events will unfold.
Занимает позиции, в соответствии с которой.
In September 2025, Russian President Vladimir Putin said both the countries could voluntarily maintain the limits on deployed strategic nuclear weapons set out in the New START treaty. When President Trump, during a recent interview to New York Times, was asked about the expiry of the treaty, he said, and I quote, "If it expires, it expires. Well, we will just do a better agreement."
Действие договора заканчивается.
The agreement is coming to an end. We view this negatively and express our regret. There was no response to our incentive to preserve the numerical ceilings on strategic offensive arms for another year, even after the expiry date of this document.
Потолки ограничений еще на год.
The New START treaty had limited both countries to a maximum of 1,550 deployed long-range nuclear warheads on delivery systems, including intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and bombers. The signatory to the treaty, Dmitry Medvedev, warned that the expiry would speed up the doomsday clock. Meanwhile, Trump has talked about nuclear-armed Trump-class battleships, a Cold War-era policy that was abandoned decades ago. The lapse of the treaty marks an end of an era of controlled arms race and leaves the world open to the risk of nuclear threats. Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit Malaysia on the 7th and 8th of February at the invitation of Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim. This will be Prime Minister Modi's third visit and the first after the elevation of the India-Malaysia bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership in August 2024. Modi will hold bilateral discussions with Anwar Ibrahim and meet the Indian diaspora, industry and business representatives. About 2.9 million strong Indian diaspora live in Malaysia, the third largest in the world. Both nations share long-standing bonds of friendship based on historical, civilizational and cultural connections. The visit serves as an opportunity for both leaders to review the entire gamut of bilateral cooperation, ranging from trade and investment, defense, security and maritime cooperation, to digital and financial technology, energy, healthcare, education, culture, tourism, people-to-people ties, as well as to set the path for future engagement for mutual benefit.
Prime Minister is scheduled to visit Kuala Lumpur on 7th and 8th February. This would be PM's third visit to Malaysia. PM will hold bilateral discussions with the Prime Minister of Malaysia. They will review progress under the India-Malaysia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, especially in priority areas of cooperation such as trade, investments, defense, security, semiconductors, digital technologies, renewable energy, education, healthcare, and people-to-people exchanges.
The Epstein files continue to widen their reach, now pulling in a prominent Indian origin spiritual author. Deepak Chopra's name has surfaced in newly released documents linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, triggering strong reactions online and from within the film industry. While Chopra has denied any wrongdoing, the mention has reignited debate over influence, proximity and accountability. Let's take a look at this report.
Well-known author and wellness guru Deepak Chopra finds his name in the latest tranche of Jeffrey Epstein-related files, reigniting debate over associations with a disgraced financier convicted of sexual offences who died in jail while awaiting trial in trafficking cases. Chopra's name appears in emails and contacts released as part of the Epstein documents. While there are no allegations of criminal wrongdoing, the mention has triggered strong reactions online and within India's film fraternity. Actor Richa Chadda reacted sharply, questioning Chopra's moral positioning and calling out what she described as hypocrisy among powerful figures who claim spiritual authority. In a pointed remark, Chadda said that influence should come with accountability, a comment that has since gone viral on social media platforms. Responding to the controversy, Deepak Chopra acknowledged what he called poor judgment in tone during past interactions, while distancing himself from Epstein's crimes and maintaining that he had no involvement in any illegal activity. Chopra has said that any association with Epstein was limited and that he condemns Epstein's actions, adding that the renewed attention has been painful for survivors of abuse. Bureau Report, India Today.
Here are some other stories from across the world and World at a glance.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, in a post on X, said nuclear talks with the US are set to be held in the Omani capital Muscat on Friday. A United States official later confirmed the meet. Although US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said earlier that meaningful talks between the United States and Iran will have to include Tehran's missile arsenal and other issues, which a senior Iranian official responded to by saying the talks would only be about Iran's nuclear program and that its missile program was off the table. Meanwhile, Trump has warned that Iran's supreme leader should be very worried. Chinese President Xi Jinping called Taiwan the most important issue in China-US relations during a phone call with the US President Donald Trump. According to the Chinese state media, Xi told Trump to be prudent when supplying weapons to the island, adding that he attached great importance to ties with Washington and hoped both sides would find ways to resolve their differences. Trump meanwhile said the phone call was excellent and long and thorough.
Any member of this House.
Keir Starmer apologized for appointing Peter Mandelson to a senior role following the former envoy's links to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In recent days, voices have grown louder after the US Department of Justice released fresh emails linking Mandelson to Epstein. Popular US morning news anchor Savannah Guthrie posted a video message addressing anyone who might be holding her elderly mother, who vanished from her Arizona home several days ago, pleading for them to open a line of communication.
My mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman.
The emotional appeal came 3 days after Nancy Guthrie, who is 84 years old, was reported missing from her home near Tucson by family members in what investigators said they believe was an abduction. Vice President J.D. Vance met US athletes participating in the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics shortly after arriving in Italy. Vance, Usha Vance and Marco Rubio are scheduled to attend the opening ceremony of the Milano Cortina Winter Games on Friday at San Siro Stadium. Meanwhile, residents in the Italian city of Milan have voiced their strong opposition to the dispatch of US immigration enforcement personnel for the event.